And then you got to teach them what kill time mean. That mean when you don't want to do nothing, right? And you don't want to learn nothing, and you just want to shut off, that's killing time. Because the time is unproductive. So you do unproductive shit at the unproductive hours. But during the productive hours, you just do productive shit. Produce some shit. Don't tell me you know God and you ain't doing no God shit. Just saying. I mean, you said you God. I don't see you doing no God shit. What the fuck do gods do that men don't do? First of all, you got to figure that part out. Yeah? If you don't know what the guys do that the men don't do, then you can't never figure out how to be a god. Because you can't distinguish a man from a god. That's what these niggas be saying. They God body, right? I'm saying, how long you niggas been God? Like a week? Or a couple years? A couple months? How long you motherfuckers been God? Well, how long does it take God to do some shit in the physical world? No. I mean, I don't have no problem with motherfuckers saying he God. That's how, if he can identify with it. But remember, if you identify yourself as doing God, you have an obligation to yourself to try to ascend into the thinking of God. You have to move your mind from the thinking of a man into the thinking of God. So first of all, you have to start asking yourself, how do God think? If all this shit happening to us, why in the fuck God ain't helping? It gotta be a reason. So how do I find this reason why God ain't getting this motherfucker foot off my neck? Maybe I ain't looking in the right places. I'm only looking in the church. They don't even really understand God in the church. Because they still think a motherfucker gonna surf out of the motherfucking sky on the cloud and come rescue their ass, but they book don't tell them that. I don't know where they got that shit from. That's called cultural association. I gotta give you something to link it to, visual imagery or some shit, but that shit is retarded. But, you know, that's not my lane. I mean, they got some good people in the church. They just misled good people. They got good people in the mosque. They just some misled good people. Synagogue too. Some good misled motherfuckers. Got the motherfuckers in the gangs. They misled motherfuckers. You know, but we about to lead all these motherfuckers right. You know? You got all these people doing all this work. Why you got all these idiots twiddling their fucking thumbs and they're not paying attention? Sometimes all you got to do is pay attention and then you'll know your position. Right? If you pay attention, you'll know what's missing when you... Look, I watched the women. My mom was laying in there in the living room in her last days. And I would watch the women fixing the meals over those days. And they was females that had never been in the kitchen together before. They never been in the kitchen at the same time. Ever in their life, they never been in the same room at the same time. But they all know my mama. That's their connection. They from different parts of the family that don't normally associate because they from different pods of the family. Like these people was in-laws to the cousin and these people friends to the in-laws and shit like that. But my mama knew them all. So they in the kitchen fixing these meals. I did not hear not one person bump into nobody. I'm sitting there watching this shit like they dancing a motherfucking group steppers ball or something as they move and weave through each other without saying a word. I'm watching it and then I'm looking around. I'm wondering to myself, does anybody see this ballet taking place in front of our face? And I noticed that I was the only one looking at it. I was the only one noticed it. Then I started to query myself on, what is this? How did these women do this? They never cooked in the kitchen together before, but ain't nobody getting stabbed with the knife, poked with the fork. Ain't none of that shit going on. And there's too many of them in the kitchen. It's too many. It should only be one or two cooking for the size of the kitchen. They got like 6 or 8 women in here, and they trying to weave a blanket or something the way they moving up in this motherfucker. And ain't nobody bumping into nobody. You don't hear no excuse me's or none of that. They passing shit without nobody saying, I need an onion. She said, here, take this onion over there. And here, give her that bell pepper. And how the fuck she know what they need? She not even cooking the same dish. But they all knew. Everybody knew automatically because they following the matriarchal layout. They following the matriarchal layout. You don't have to tell them what to do in the kitchen. When they in that energy, the energy is just gonna move them around like the old football pieces when the board used to vibrate and everything get to moving. That's what the energy do. They get to moving them around like that, and it just works. That's nature. That's how nature is. See, the women might start off dancing a little off, then one of the elder women to come and slap that ground with that foot, boom, and hit her hips one time, or shook, and then all of them be synced. Be done. Mama came home. You know, so this is where we at with this. This is and they formed what they called the 21 brick pyramid. When you go around Stones in Chicago now, they got this thing where they say 20 more because one brick gone. No, it ain't. It's coming home. If you don't believe me, ask Malik. It's sorry about that, y'all. My phone ringing for the interruption again. So, that brick, that was a young man by the name of Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover ended up becoming real good friends with David Barksdale. But, at that time, he was the king of the Disciple Nation. Oh, yeah. Sister Santos, you're absolutely correct. You talking about those women in the Cosby case. You're right on that. They was gold diggers, but not all of them. Some of them did it under threat. Some of them did it under threat. Okay, and let me see what my sister Jillian say, because she's a little deeper into it, because yep, you're right, Jillian, it does go much deeper. Just because somebody have a particular skin tone, that don't automatically make them right, because let's deal with, well, we ain't gonna deal with that right now. That's another topic for another video, and I'll go into the skin thing and divide and conquer and the devil's techniques. But right now we're talking about the leaders. Now Larry Hoover and Jeff Ford, these dudes is friends to this day. We got to remember that when you understand that the enemy used divide and conquer as the tool to break everybody down, not just black people, but everybody. We catch it worse because of who we are in this particular era in time. They was trying to stop it because they felt that under the shadow era of the Zodiac, that they could gain enough power in this era that when the word come in the changing of the guard, they can have a resistance. It's not going to work. So Jeff went on with David as a gangster disciple, black gangster disciple, and he left Jeff, right? But Jeff told Larry something, and that ain't my place to tell this business. Even though I wasn't there, I know what he told him, but I can't tell y'all. Larry have to tell the disciples and the Stones what Jeff told him, and Jeff ain't gone. He have to tell the Stones and they got to tell it together in order for the people to understand what they was trying to do. Because when you have to divide and conquer, you have to deal with your enemy from a scattered direction. You can't come to them in one direction in one force. You have to come from what they call a collateral or multilateral attack. So Jeff was more like stern in his position, more militant. He was more Panther-like. Well, Larry was more like, look, man, I'm going to get this bread. I'm going to teach these dudes to be industrious and organize these businesses. And, you know what I'm saying? Y'all go over there. Y'all build the strong arm. So they went their separate ways. Now, then a whole bunch of police propaganda come down about gang wars and shit. They putting this shit all on the news. This is to incite these young men to go against each other. Not Jeff and Larry, because they know what's up. But the ones that's not close enough to them to get the correct information. So, now, I'm not going to stay on them too long because I got to deal with H. Brown. I watched the trial. If y'all don't know who he is, Imam Abu Jamal Al-Amin, look him up. H. Brown was his former name. The trial was a farce. I watched the trial, and watching the trial, I'm telling myself there is no way that they calling this shit evidence. There's no way they're going to convict this man. There's no way they're going to convict this man. The stuff they call in evidence actually is exonerating him, so there's no way that they should be able to convict him. They gave him 20-something years in prison. Right? Now, let's go to Big Meech. They say Big Meech is one of the biggest drug dealers in the country, and that they had to get him off the streets because he was a menace to society. Now, this is where the weighing of justice, this is where the balancing of the scales take place, because you get to determine if Big Meech done something actually wrong. Iran-Contra, your president, Ronald Reagan, your vice president, George H.W. Bush, and one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Oliver North. What were they doing in Iran-Contra? They were selling dope. Where was they selling it at? California, New York, Michigan, Florida, Louisiana, everywhere dope was being sold in America in the 80s. When the crack epidemic hit, was part of the Iran-Contra. Well, what was the basis of Iran-Contra? When you go back and review it, you'll find this is what was going on. When Jimmy Carter was president of the United States, some kind of way Iran ended up with some American hostages off of an airplane, and they was holding them for negotiation purposes with America, because America had some oppressive stuff going on behind the scenes. Now, sidebar, at this time that this is going on, right, America has just installed a guy in Iraq by the name of Saddam Hussein, who was in exile in the Sudan, minding his own business. The CIA sent operatives to get him from the Sudan and to put him in the house. Well, in ancient Islam, it would be called the family house, or Lil Bait, when Muhammad ruled. But since the imposters is there, they can't call it that, because it's not the true Lil Bait. It's not the true house of the faithful. So they put up Saddam Hussein in power to have a point man in the Middle East. America did that. He didn't come up on his own merit. America put him in power. Remember that. Now I got to go back to Iran-Contra, because this is directly affecting Big Meech, Freeway Ricky Ross, every major drug dealer that they claim out of New York or anywhere. This also affects Harry O. Iran-Contra gave all these lifers the dope. They were acting on behalf of the government of the United States unknowingly. Now, in law, this is a violation of United States Code, I think it's 1986 color law, which say nobody should go under the color of law, represent themselves as a government personnel to commit a crime. Well, they did it. Under the conspiracy, it becomes a conspiracy when you involve people knowingly or unknowingly in this plan. So everybody they gave a conspiracy, they don't mention they co-conspirators, because they co-conspirators was your government. They can't put the government on trial in front of y'all. They got to do it behind the scenes. I'm going to put the government on trial in front of y'all. In about 9 to 10 months, we're going to use Amendment 2 of the U.S. Constitution, redress of grievances, to address all our grievances to Congress, because that's what the treaties say. That's what the treaties say. This ain't their land, and this ain't America. They got y'all tricked. This land is called Amur Inca. And what they told y'all is Africa is Afar Inca, right? Now you can look those terms up, and you'll find in Africa you got a tribe called the Afar. Over here you had a tribe, they call them Olmec, but they was Amur. And they call them Olmec because of the tribe land that they lived on was named Olmec, but the people were called Amur. So now you see people talking about Moorish law. This all related. So now when we get to Big Meech in there, they got him serving all this time. The boy ain't did nothing that the government didn't facilitate. The government done that to Big Meech. They gave him the dope. They let him make the money. When he made the money and he started to, they couldn't figure out why this young black man with all these soldiers and ain't nobody dropping no information. They couldn't figure it out. So finally they end up getting somebody in there, and I'm not going to say no rappers like Jeezy name or nothing, and I'm not going to tell none, that ain't none of my business. Meech will tell you though. Meech will tell you who told on him. Meech will tell you who the undercover agents is. And before I go any further in this video, make sure y'all go back and watch Lawrence Fishburne's movie Deep Cover, because this is how they trick all these men into getting caught up in their system. They send other men that look like them, deep cover, black or white, it don't matter. They dress you up like a biker and send you into Hell's Angels. Hell's Angels, man, Hell's Angels business. They don't mess with civilians. Hell's Angels, they don't bother civilians, so why do the government give them shit? They can't control them. Any element that the false government can't control, it tries to destroy it. And so how do we get these leaders out? If you put one leader ahead of the rest of them, you lose. They got to all be there together. Every political prisoner have to be brought up with the grievance of the political prison. Show the connection of the government with the act. What is Jeff Ford in there? Why is this brother in there all these goddamn years and don't nobody know how to get him out? It's real simple. Nobody is showing what he was doing and why he was doing it. They only showing you the end result that the government wants you to see. Now, let's talk about government. The very word government means mind control. Govern, control, mentis, mind control. So this is not really a real government of the people, for the people, by the people. This is a mind control government. They telling you right in the word, we're going to control your mind. We're going to govern your mentis. So the next thing we have to do is we have to figure out, okay, well, where's the power coming from? And how is these motherfuckers staying in power? Staying in power by your silence. By collective silence, we collectively agree. That's called a tacit agreement in law. A silent agreement in law. Tacit. Look it up. T-A-C-I-T. A tacit agreement. That means you agreed to something by not objecting to it. The only thing you have to object to is wrongdoing. You never have to object to somebody doing the right thing to go ahead and do it. But if somebody is doing something that's wrong and somebody is trying to draw you into their wrongdoing and you don't object and you go along with it, but you don't want to do it, but you still go along with it, that's called a tacit agreement, a silent agreement. So us, whether we Stones, Disciples, Crips, Bloods, don't matter what we is, we got to realize one thing: the persecution of the leadership is a systematic method of oppression. It's called Hellenism. Look it up. Hellenism. Now, the best part about Hellenism is they tell you what it is. Georgetown University History of the World. It's a blue book. Look to the index and go to Hellenism and look up every part they talk about it, and they're going to break it all down. Well, who in the hell is Helen? Helen was the name of a Greek deity. Now watch what they did. Originally in Greece, Helen was a man. But they want to take matriarchy out of the picture and replace it with patriarchy. So how do they do that? When the Romans take power, Helen became a woman. Helen became a woman because they wanted to disgrace her, but they also wanted to exalt the original Helen, the man. So this is when they say hell on earth. It's Hellenistic doctrine. We following Hellenistic doctrine. This is hell on earth. Hellenistic doctrine. Now, under Hellenism, when you have a leader that you can't control, a Shaka Zulu, who was actually reincarnated in Chicago as what we call him Jeff Ford or Chief Malik. That was Shaka Zulu in his past life. He might not remember in this one. He was Shaka Zulu. That's why he don't fucking bend. That's why he been in that single man cell all these years and they can't fucking break him. So y'all want to know what happened to Shaka? Shaka Zulu is in Colorado Max right now. So if you are a brother, sister over in the motherland and you want to know where the Shaka at, he is in Colorado Max over here in Amur Inca. I'm coming to get him. All right, so now the next thing is this. So now we understand who's who and what's what in this leadership game that they playing. So now what do under Hellenism? They take the leader that they can't control, they neutralize him in either of several ways. See that they're not authorized to personally kill him. So what they do is they can pay one of his own people to kill him. They can appeal to their sensitivity